everybody, and welcome to Life as a Buckfuls. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about my Kienbock's disease journey and share a little information because I know when I was first trying to learn more about Kienbock's and figure out what I needed to do, it was really hard for me to find information. So it was really helpful for other people to share their journeys so that I could learn from them. So here's me paying it forward, sharing my journey. So when you first Google Kienbock's disease, there's like 3 articles, like WebMD, Mayo Clinic, and Medical News Today. And they all basically say the same thing. But Kienbock's disease, Medical News Today says, is a rare, debilitating condition that can lead to chronic pain and dysfunction. It happens when one of the 8 small carpals in the wrist, the lunate bone, becomes damaged because there's no blood supply. It is also known as avascular necrosis of the lunate or osteonecrosis of the lunate. It's most common in men ages 20 to 45 and in the dominant hand. And I don't fit either of those categories. I am 26 when I was diagnosed, and it's actually in my non-dominant hand, my left hand, because I'm right-handed. There's really not any sure cause of Kienbock's disease. One of the, I guess, risk factors, which would make you more susceptible, is called ulnar variance. It's when or radial variance, but basically your ulna and your radius bones don't line up. And I have ulnar variance in both of my wrists. In my left wrist, it is about a 7 millimeter variance that my ulna is shorter than my radius. And then in my right, I have about a 4 millimeter variance in my ulna, shorter than my radius. But yeah, Kienbock's disease, so they tell you that basically the blood supply was cut off to your lunate bone somehow. Really, it was hard to find answers from doctors because nobody knows why it happens. It just happens. My earliest signs that kind of tipped me off that something was wrong, my very first thing was a lot of numbness and tingling in both of my arms while I was sleeping. I would wake up with like both of my arms completely asleep, and it was painful. That was my first thing, and then it would be continuing through the day, a lot of numbness and tingling. I asked some people about it and got quite a few different answers on what could possibly be wrong, and the most common answer was people said probably carpal tunnel. So I went to a doctor to ask about carpal tunnel because I didn't like the numbness and tingling, also a little bit of pain in my wrist. And so the doctor said, yeah, that's probably carpal tunnel. Wear braces to sleep in and lose weight because you probably got carpal tunnel during your pregnancy because you gained so much weight. So lose some weight and that should fix itself. So I wore braces while I was sleeping, and that helped with the numbness, and I lost weight, and I feel like the carpal tunnel symptoms really eased. And it was okay for a little bit, and then I started getting more pain, specifically like here in my thumb area, which isn't necessarily indicative of Kienbock's since your lunate bone is in this area. The next thing that started happening was weakness in my wrist and loss of my range of motion. I could no longer like do the things that I used to do with my wrist, and then there started to be a lot of pain with any sort of like movement or bearing weight on my wrist. The thing that like I remember is we have this glass water pitcher that we always keep in the fridge with water, and I couldn't bear the weight of the water pitcher as I was filling it up with water anymore, which I used to be able to do just fine. I had to start supporting it with my other hand, and it would be painful, which wasn't normal. And also I remember the kind of like the final straw was I was laying down in bed, and Steve lays down on my hand and just hit it the wrong way, and it was excruciating pain. I started crying, and we knew something was wrong. I decided I needed to see another doctor. It wasn't just carpal tunnel, something was seriously wrong. And another thing that I was like a tip off was I couldn't do handstands in the gym. One of my goals last year was to work on being able to do handstands, because it's fun for me. I like to do it, and I couldn't get my wrist flat without pain. So I knew I needed to see more doctors. So Steve actually talked to our insurance and found an orthopedic surgeon nearby, and I met with him, and he took an x-ray, and from the x-ray he was able to see that my lunate bone was dead and dying, I guess, and that he diagnosed me with Kienbock's. He recommended to me to have a radial shortening and said that I had like 40% chance that it would be better, and he told me that if it was his daughter, he would want her to take the 40% chance to get better. He told me my choices were a radial shortening or a full fusion, basically. I did not like the idea of that. I wanted to keep as much mobility as I could. I'm young, I'm a mom, and I'm athletic. I wanted to be able to still have a wrist and not be a 90-year-old woman. So I decided to see another doctor, and this took a lot of time. The doctors were booked out like all summer, so it took like months in between each doctor's appointment, and that was really hard and depressing for me at the time because I felt like this was a really pressing issue. My bone was dying more every day that I waited, and I couldn't see doctors. So I finally got in with a second doctor, and he told me, it's funny because he had to like look up on the computer, because he didn't know a ton about Kienbock's. From my research that I had done, I basically knew more than he did. But he looked up on the computer and was able to tell me I was in stage 3B, and that my lunate was severely compressed, and he set me up for an MRI, and he told me that option that I had was proximal row carpectomy. So that sounded better, but I still didn't like the healed mobility percentages that they gave me. It was basically like you could get up to 90% of your grip strength back, but probably only 60% range of motion. I got my MRI. They told me that not only was my lunate compressed, but it had a crack in it, which isn't good. So I searched online. I was just trying to get as much answers as I could. I watched a lot of YouTube videos of other people going through the same thing. I found a community on Facebook. Basically, I was just trying to get as much information as I could, and I actually was able to connect with some people on Instagram and Facebook in Utah who had gone through the same things, and they told me about Dr. Groebs in Murray, Utah, and that he did a surgery called a vascularized bone graft, or a VBG, where in a VBG they would take they would do a radial shortening. So they shorten your radius bone, and the chunk that they take out, they leave the blood supply in and then graft it onto your lunate bone to try and revascularize the blood supply to the lunate bone. And the mobility outcomes, the whole, all of the outcomes from that sounded much better. You could basically get back to full function, essentially. And so that sounded really good to me. I got in contact with Dr. Groebs, and from my initial x-rays, he said I was possibly a candidate for a VBG, but that he wouldn't be able to know until he opened me up and saw kind of what my cartilage was looking like in there. But also, Dr. Groebs was 4 hours away from where we're at. I was willing to make that drive because he was the first doctor that I had heard recommendations from people that he specifically works with Kienbock's disease. Talking to him on the phone, I already knew that he knew more about it than me, which was really exciting. And he was going to be able to possibly do a VBG, which was really what I wanted. Just talking about the differences between a PRC, which is a proximal row carpectomy, and the VBG, which was the other option of surgery that I wanted. Proximal row carpectomy would essentially be removing 3 of my bones, the lunate, the scaphoid, and the triquetrum. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but those 3 bones on the proximal row. They would take them out. I'd be in a cast, and it would all kind of form a new joint. The outcomes for that was like 90% grip strength and 60 to 70% mobility back. And then I already talked about the VBG, which basically the outcomes, people said if it worked well, you would basically be back to the same if you hit it hard in physical therapy and worked on it. My initial consults with Dr. Groebs was over the phone because it was a 4-hour drive from my house and he was booked out a few months, which was also maddening to me. So when I sent him my initial x-rays and MRIs, I just had one MRI, he said that a VBG was possible, but he wouldn't know until he opened me up and actually looked at the cartilage that I had to see what was intact. So by the time I actually got up to meet with Dr. Groebs in person for my consult, it had been about 2 months, and the x-rays that he took showed that my lunate was extremely compressed and fragmenting. It was actually really scary to me, I guess, to see the x-rays compared to what I had before. Before, my lunate was still formed and just on the x-ray it appeared blackened because it was dying, but these x-rays didn't look the same at all. It was completely misshapen and just shredding apart. So he told me that because of that, the fragmenting of VBG wasn't going to be an option anymore, but a PRC. And he wanted me to get into surgery as soon as possible, which was August 31st. I wanted all of this to be done before, like basically at the beginning of the summer if possible, but doctor's appointments and everything pushed me back. So I wasn't able to get my surgery until August 31st, which was scary for me because I'm still a college student, just taking it slow. So I had already started classes for the semester. I was a week into classes. I was going to take a few weeks off for surgery and recovery, and I didn't want to get behind in my classes, and it was scary to me. But I really didn't like the idea of getting bones removed, but when he presented that as the only option, he was able to tell me things that he knew as a specific doctor who had worked with Kienbock. It was really reassuring to talk to him and hear him say like the positive outcomes that he had from people getting the PRC. So with that option being basically PRC, or my next option would be a full fusion, I liked my mobility options with the PRC. So I took the surgery date for August 31st, 2018, and I had my surgery. At this point, honestly, I don't remember a ton about my surgery. It's been quite a few months, and I've moved on. My life is good. But I do remember I did opt for a nerve block, which they did up in my shoulder. Some people have said that that was bad for their recovery, that they couldn't manage their own pain, or that when they did finally feel the pain once the nerve block wore off, it was excruciating. I think that it was good for me. I think I have pretty high pain tolerance, but once the nerve block wore off, things were okay. I didn't hurt myself any extra or anything weird that I've heard else happened from nerve blocks. After my surgery, I was in a soft cast with a fiberglass like half splint for 2 weeks, and then when I got that taken off, it was really crazy. My hand was it looked like an alien hand, like it was just skinny and weak. I was not prepared to see the holes from the stitches. So they removed my stitches and the holes were like bigger than my actual scar from the incision, which was weird to me. But so then after that, I got a hard cast. I chose pink. It was really cute. And I had a hard cast on for 1 week. Then I got that taken off, and I just wore a brace for a few months, just kind of to keep it in place as needed. Shortly after that, Dr. Groebs basically told me that I really only needed to wear the brace if I felt like I needed that extra support, but if I was feeling pretty confident in my hand, the new joint had basically solidified and I was cleared to do whatever I wanted to do with no pain. As long as there was no pain, I was okay. I started into physical therapy as soon as I was out of my cast. I went to Fit Physical Therapy here in St. George with Aaron Harward, and I was really, really impressed with him as a physical therapist. He also is a CrossFit coach. Hi, Linus. This is our little neighbor kitty. But, which I liked because he knew about the kind of workouts that I wanted to be doing and the mobility I wanted back. We talked about my goals and he really pushed me to work towards them. Something I wasn't prepared for was how painful physical therapy would be. I kind of thought, I'm just gonna go and stretch and get stronger and it'll be kind of like working out, like doing a weightlifting or something. But it wasn't. There was a lot of pain with the stretching of a new joint and with the immobility that I had had from the cast. I think I cried quite a few times, whether in physical therapy at the beginning or after physical therapy, feeling like it was hopeless and that I would never get back to what I wanted. So the fact that I am where I am today, I owe so much of it to Aaron and to everybody else I talked to about physical therapy who told me that it was going to be okay, just work hard, strengthen my thumb, and things would be better. So something that I was told a lot from other people as I connected in online communities about Kienbock was to strengthen your thumb. And I took that and I ran with it. I really wanted to do the best I could to strengthen my thumb. So I also recommend that because in a lot of the exercises you do in physical therapy, it works on your joint, but not necessarily your thumb, which out of all my fingers became the weakest because in my cast, I was casted for my thumb. So my thumb was casted, so I would do all of the exercises that the doctor told me in my cast, but I still couldn't move my thumb. It was stationary. So that I think became the weakest because I wasn't really able to exercise that one. So strengthening my thumb was a huge help in my recovery. But where I am now, how far out am I from surgery? August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. 8 months? Oh, it's not even April. I'm 7 months out from surgery, and can you even tell which hand I had surgery on? Obviously, I have my beautiful scar, but range of motion wise, it's pretty good. I never thought that I would be able to move my hand like I can today. I actually cried a lot. You can ask Steve about my lost hand. Steve says yes. I felt like I was gonna be handicapped for the rest of my life, not being able to move my hand, not being able to grip things, especially when I first got out of my cast. My grip strength was nothing. I celebrated little victories of being able to hold my water bottle, being able to turn a doorknob. So something that I've always had pretty good is that, I can't remember what it's called, but that flipping range. So you can see where I'm at here. I get basically to 90 and I can bear my weight. Steve will throw in a few pictures. I was doing some planks in this push-up position the past few days and I can bear my weight. Something that was a huge victory to me today was I was able to do the rings at the gym. I'll put a video of that in, but I was able to not only bear my own weight, but swing on my wrist. My grip strength was there, my wrist strength was there, my mobility was there. I'm super pleased with my recovery and where I am today. Sorry, and I just want to let anyone who is starting this journey or in the middle of it know that I mean, everybody's journey is different. Everyone's recovery is different. Everyone's surgery and surgeon is different, but it's gonna be okay. It's scary and it's hard, but you can get through it. You can work hard and your life isn't over. I feel like I am a story of hope. I've really loved being able to connect with people on Facebook and Instagram and let them know that it's okay. I've had an amazing recovery and I'm back to nearly fully functioning. Thank you so much for watching this video. I have a lot of information and I love to share it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or contact me on Instagram. You can contact us at Life Has a Buckles Instagram or on my personal Instagram, hello.fit.jess. I've posted a lot about my Kienbock's journey and recovery on that page and connected with a lot of people there. So I would love to answer questions, talk about your journey as you're going through it, or, you know, just say hi and connect with more people. So leave a comment, like this video, subscribe. Thank you so much for being here, and you got it.